Hello and welcome to Lansing Pulse. I'm Ken Miller, joined as always by City Administrator Tim Vandall. Tim, on May 22nd, which is about a little bit more than a week from when we're recording this, the new ball fields out at Bernard Park are going to be officially opened, and we're going to have a special ceremony to do it. Talk about the history of how we finally got those ball fields located there, and then obviously the associated structures that are going to support them.
Yeah, this is a project that's 15 or 16 years in the making. I want to say the city purchased that property maybe in that 2007, 2008 time frame, and we were able to make that first phase of improvements, the lake, the bridge, kind of that semicircle area, that basic playground structure. We were able to make a lot of improvements like that about 14 or 15 years ago. But then due to the recession and financial issues, we had to hit pause. And so I know it was challenging because I think the council at that time felt like we had a lot of momentum and we had to hit pause due to issues outside of our control. And it's been kind of fascinating too. You look at all of the players who have been involved in that park. And again, since it's dating back to that 2007, 2008 time frame, you look at the park's namesake. Mayor Bernard was mayor when that was first started. Mayor Blackwell was involved. Mayor Kirby, Mayor Smith, and now Mayor McNeil. So 5 different mayors have been a part of that. Same Parks and Rec director throughout that entire process. So kudos to Jason Crum for overseeing a lot of that. A couple other things that are worth noting out there as far as where we got to where we are today. I think sometimes maybe people forget the amount of work behind the scenes that goes into constructing a baseball field or any park for that matter. If those fields are designed and the grades are just an inch off, they might not drain correctly. And for evidence of that, look at City Park. That was constructed 30 or 40 years ago, and I think it was just we did the best we could, but I'm not sure how much engineering was done behind it. And anytime we get even half an inch of rain, we would have to cancel games out at City Park. And so these fields will drain properly. They were designed by a firm that this is all they do, is design baseball fields and soccer fields and things like that. So that was a major component of it, was the design, making sure those engineers, making sure their vision matched our vision. Another thing that, it's been 4 or 5 years, so maybe people forget, a while back we weren't sure how we would pay for something like this. And so we put out a special sales tax ballot to our residents, and we were pretty specific about what the money would be used for. DeSoto Road, which is complete, but also Bernard Park. And that was passed by our voters, I want to say in early 2017.
That's right.
That was the funding stream that kind of helped make this possible. So there were so many different phases, the funding phase, the engineering phase, the construction phase that's wrapping up right now. So many different things that had to take place in order to get here. One thing I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, obviously that park is... I joke around with folks. It's not continental Lansing. It's kind of the Hawaii of Lansing. It's kind of on the edge of our city limits. So as a result of that, we didn't have water out there until pretty recently. And I know, I want to say in 2016, we had a project that came in under budget. So I know Mayor Kirby at that time and the rest of the city council said, hey, this project came in under budget, so let's use the savings to get water closer to the park. So that was something that took place about 5 or 6 years ago. So it's one of those things where it's been this years-long effort with multiple different players just to get to where we are now. And May 22nd, it's going to be just a fantastic event. I know we're hoping for a good turnout, we're hoping for some kids, but also I know we're trying to invite a lot of people who have been pivotal in our Parks and Rec program. We're inviting a lot of past coaches, past city council members. We're really hoping for just a terrific event on Monday, May 22nd.
And one of the things that I think we don't always point out in the top tier of why this is such a great project, But all those people that you mentioned, if they all happen to come out and we have a huge crowd, they're all going to be able to park on hard top parking spaces.
That's one thing I forgot. You know, I think you look at other ball fields around, and sometimes there's not enough parking or parking on gravel, and we are fortunate to have hundreds of hard top parking spaces.
Yeah. All right, so we also recently hosted an event for city businesses. I think we're rebranding the name. It's kind of a state of the city now. It used to be called Salads and Solutions back in the day. What about that presentation back on May 5th in terms of city progress stuck out to you? I mean, you mentioned the ballparks, you know, and it's that project's kind of done now. What are some other things? And really, it's kind of an exciting time for Lansing, because a lot of the things that we've been planning for years, if not decades, are really starting to come to fruition now, and I think that was outlined in that luncheon.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I'll say, and I think anyone who works in local government might feel this, I think sometimes people might get discouraged, but you know, sometimes when you consolidate and condense a lot of projects into one 20-minute presentation, you kind of realize, wow, we did have a really productive 12 months, 18 months, whatever. And it was really great to hear a lot of those things being ticked off, you know, whether that's new businesses like Family Eye Care or Take 5 Oil or Philemon Dental. You know, we're so thrilled about those 3 new businesses coming to Lansing, and they all got a special shout out at that lunch. But even beyond that too, like you had said, these projects that, you know, again, engineering and design can often take over a year, if not longer. Finding the funding stream can often take a long time. So these projects like Bernard Park or the municipal swimming pool that'll likely be coming in 2025, that intersection project, that sewer project, all of these different things that, you know, take months and months and months, and again, maybe you get discouraged because you think they're not happening fast enough. But when you consolidate that into one presentation, you realize, man, we've had a lot of progress in Lansing lately, and things have been going pretty well. One of the things that was pretty noteworthy, so I know it was frustrating because this was our first one in 3 years.
Right, because of COVID.
Because of COVID. I know Mayor McNeil really wanted to be there, but I know he had a last-minute work trip through Fort Leavenworth that he had to attend, so he wasn't able to make it. But Council President Carrie Brungart just did a fantastic job outlining all of those you know, projects and programs and things like that. And we are fortunate, you know, he's been on our city council for so long.
I think since 09.
Since 09. He was super familiar with everything that's been going on, the programs that we're trying to do to help folks out. So it was really a fantastic event. It was catered by Ichiban, and they always do a terrific job, a Lansing-based restaurant. And I want to say we had about 90 people in attendance.
Easily.
So it was just one of those things that was, you know, absolutely fantastic to hear about all of the progress in Lansing. And, you know, it's really an exciting time with everything that's going on right now.
Right. All right, we're also gearing up now for our big city fireworks show that's coming up on July 1st this year. Talk about some of the details you can share, and let's start by where it's going to take place this year.
Yeah, the fireworks show is taking place at Town Center this year, and you know, initially when we did it out there a while back, it was viewed as only being temporary, and because Bernard Park was under construction.
Right.
But you know, we did it out there, and we had such positive feedback from residents and our city council members about, you know, having it in the main part of town.
Basically the center of town.
The center of town.
Right.
And so we had a lot of positive feedback about that. So about you know, several months ago, we reached out to the city council and said, you know, what is your preferred location? Because again, now Bernard Park is done. We've got 200 or 300 paved parking spots. But it was still important to the city council to have it in town center, a central location, a walkable location. So that's the reason why it was selected there instead of Bernard Park. You know, maybe if there's more construction in town center in the future, maybe it will end up shifting back to Bernard Park. But you know, the other thing that was kind of interesting about that city council discussion about the location several months ago, You know, if we were able to do it elsewhere, there would be more space for inflatables, rides, food trucks, music, all of that stuff. But again, it was important to the council to have it at a central location, a walkable location. So we will still have food trucks, and I want to say maybe there will be 10 instead of...
And there'll be music.
And there will be music, and there will be rides, there will be inflatables. It'll be a little bit more condensed than it would be if it was elsewhere, but again, we really like that location. So I think it's going to be just a fantastic event. I know last year, the fireworks company, Victory Pyrotechnics, did a great job. We have them signed on to do our fireworks for the next few years, and they do fireworks shows all over the Midwest, and we always get positive feedback about them, so we're really thrilled about it. So July 1st, Town Center, really encouraging folks to be there. It's going to be a great event.
And I think the long-term takeaway from what you just said is, moving forward in the future each year, it's going to kind of be TBA in terms of where the actual location will be. And we'll let people know, obviously, way in advance, but the more Town Center develops, the harder it would be to do the show there.
That's exactly right. And, you know, who knows what 2024 will hold. But right now, it'll be at Town Center this year, and we're excited about that.
Okay, so work has begun on the City of Lansing's 2024 budget. I know Beth's been busy with that. You've been busy with that. What are the highlights so far that you can share with us? And I know the council has the final vote in August, and that's when everything is set in stone. But right now, based on the preliminary work that you've kind of been involved with, what can you tell us about it?
You know, the theme of almost every budget is competing interests, and this year is no different. One of the things that I think every resident in Lansing saw was, you know, probably a hike in their valuation, which results in a hike in property taxes. So I know that's something that the city council has heard a lot about, and I would imagine there would be some type of property tax rate reduction being discussed. What that number will end up being, you know, that'll be hammered out in the next couple of months. But I think some type of reduction in the property tax rate will be discussed and likely on the table.
And let's not forget, last year we came darn close to revenue neutral.
Yeah, I think we might have been one of the only cities in our region that was revenue neutral. So we had a $4.5 million reduction last year. So, but that will be discussed and on the table. Now the flip side, you know, talking about competing interests. It is getting more and more challenging to hire and retain good employees. So, you know, increases in personnel costs, that'll be something that will likely be discussed and evaluated in the budget process. Health insurance is going up. Way up. Everything is going up. So that's another challenge is, you know, wanting to retain good health insurance for our employees that make Lansing a wonderful place to live. One of the things that came up during that business appreciation lunch, Council President Brungart talked about how we're spending $928,000 repairing roads and repairing curb and gutter in Lansing this year. And quite frankly, that doesn't go as far as it did 5 or 6 years ago. You know, 5 or 6 years ago, $928,000, you'd probably do a quarter of the city almost, and not nearly quite as much now. So that figure will probably have to increase if we want to keep good roads, good curb, good gutter, you know, those things. Another thing that came up, I want to say our March or April work session, the city council wanted to talk about some of our drainage projects that we have on the books. And, you know, similar to paving streets, drainage projects are incredibly expensive. I know there was a drainage project that we did recently, and I think most people would look at it and not realize how labor intensive it was, but it was a project that was like $80,000. So all of these drainage projects are expensive, and I know our city council talked about wanting to accomplish some of them in 2024. So we'll include that. We'll put those before the city council and let them be the the final say in which ones we do. But it will be challenging trying to balance increasing costs, major projects we want to tackle versus what we end up doing with that property tax rate. I can tell you Meeting with city council members and Mayor McNeil multiple times a week. I know financial responsibility and being conservative with our tax dollars, that's incredibly important for those guys. But again, infrastructure costs are just skyrocketing.
Right.
So it's one of those things that it'll be interesting to see how everything shakes out. But like I said, it is a little bit competing interests.
Sure. Okay, let's end it on a good note. Earlier this month in May, the Kansas Department of Commerce recently awarded that's a pretty significant grant to Lansing. And again, it's for one of those projects that may not sound all that sexy or be all that sexy, but it's really integral to advancing development in the city. So, wastewater improvements in the southern part of the city. What are the details on that?
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. So we just found out recently about this $1.3 million grant award from the State Department of Commerce. So that will take a sewer line from around Gilman Road southward toward McIntyre. It won't get it all the way to McIntyre, but it will get it fairly close. This project is going to free up hundreds of acres of developable property in southern Lansing, right on that K7 corridor. I think another thing that makes that project appealing is the fact that we just improved McIntyre Road with assistance from Leavenworth
and this
County.
is on the east side of K7.
Correct, the east side of K7 along the area of McIntyre that was just improved. So all of the sudden, you look at that area, there's a newer road, we're going to have a sewer line in that area. It's really going to make that area prime for development.
The infrastructure is being put in place.
The infrastructure is there. So I think there's going to be a lot of different options for, whether it's commercial, industrial, or whatever. A couple of shout outs we want to give though. Leavenworth County, this was originally a joint application with them. And so while the county's not able to contribute financially, their assistance on that grant application was really appreciated. Another couple of unsung heroes here, Representative Dave Bueller and Senator Jeff Pittman both wrote letters of support for this project. I think they both advocated for it. I'm not sure it would have happened if it wasn't for Dave Bueller and Jeff Pittman. So we're really appreciative to those guys too. So it really was a team effort. Like I said, you've got the local government side of it with the city. The county participated in the grant writing application. Both of our local state folks were supporting the project. So we are just thrilled about it. The other thing that I was thinking about with this grant application and the award is thinking about how full circle we have come in Lansing. And think about that 2014, 2015 time frame. We kind of got slapped on the hand by KDHE for having undersized sewer lines. And that was one of those things when I first arrived in 2015, we were basically kind of being told by KDHE, you need to upsize a lot of your sewer lines. So several years ago, we spent, $10-12 million upsizing all of these sewer lines. And it was challenging because I think when residents think of city projects, they want to think of parks, they want to think of pools, they want to think of roads, things that you can see that make their lives easier. But maybe they don't realize that improving those sewer lines, that helps with future growth and development. That means you're less likely to have sewer backups and things like that. So we did all of these major projects in the 15, 16, 17 time frame. And now here we are in 2023, instead of being told to do sewer lines, we're receiving $1.3 million from the state. So it's truly come full circle. It's great to see that the State Department of Commerce realizes this is a wise investment. Lansing is growing. Lansing's proximity to the metro, improvements to McIntyre. I mean, the state sees the investment here, and that's what we're excited about. I think that area is going to grow a lot in the next few years.
All right, I've been speaking with City Administrator Tim Vandall for Lansing Pulse. I'm Ken Miller.